Alright, so today we're making sliders. Alright, so I am making sliders for a 80 series Land Cruiser, and these are some of the few things that you'll actually need just to make sliders in general. You will need measuring tools and a way to mark them off. You're going to need grinders, cutters, and a flapping disc. Just to make sure you have clean welds. You're not going to be able to get away without having at least a angle grinder. But in general, you will need a few of these basic tools just to get away with making sliders. I will be using a tubing notcher and tube bender. However, you don't necessarily need to have that in order to make sliders. And for the actual material, you do need an equivalent or something that is recommended for your vehicle's weight and length. I am making a set of sliders for an 80 series Land Cruiser. So I'm using quarter wall tubing for the main sliders, and then its respectable DOM steel tube for its rub rails. So as for materials, I'm going to be using these two pieces of 2x3 rectangular tube by 1/4 inch thick wall as the main foundation of the sliders. I will also be using 1 3/4 inch tube as the main rub rail. However, these will be the foundation of the sliders that I'll be building. These tubes form the core of the sliders. They are the main rails that actually take the brunt of the forces when making contact off-road, and being the base of the design, they can be scaled up or down to suit the rig. When it comes to the larger fabrication projects for off-road rigs, sliders are probably the easiest ones to make out of all of them. But in my opinion, they should be the go-to mod for off-roading, because they might just save your rig from damage when you're out there. While the sliders are not that hard to make, sliders do take some time and prep work to produce them. One of the most time-consuming parts of the process is actually the measuring and cutting up of the material for the individual parts, as well as the prep work involved for bending up the rub rails and making the supports for them. This is even before we start the fitting process to finally get them ready for welding. So I finally got the last of the major grinding done, and all the edges and seams look okay to go. So obviously there are still some stuff that I need to finish up and clean up, but generally all the major grinding is done. All the edges of the tubes are set to go. I can pretty much get this thing ready to get tack welded. Let me just get the camera set up and I can just start tacking them in place, and from there it's going to be burning them in. So the whole purpose of making these sliders is to put them on my friend's rig and not mine. And not wanting to keep them waiting any longer, tonight's the night we're welding them up. But because we took our time and cleaned up the parts and had them fitted tightly, it's paying off. Getting them tacked together was a smooth process, and finish welding them is going to be a breeze, but it just took that extra time to make it a cakewalk for us. It is cleaning time for me, but I have essentially accomplished what I wanted today, which was get them all welded up. As you can see, the sliders are fully welded together, albeit some of the welds are kind of overdone. I will be cleaning them up tomorrow when I have more time and more daylight. But essentially these are done. These are fully welded, fully supported by the supports. And essentially I am just waiting for my friend to bring in his rig, and from there we paint these up. We weld on the legs, we paint these things up, and then we attach these things to the Land Cruiser he wants me to put them on, and they're all set to go. So we'll catch you when the Land Cruiser gets here. Now with my friend's rig here, it was time to dive into the mounting process, starting with tacking the legs to the scab plates, followed by positioning them on the frame and marking them to length. With that done, it was time to get the sliders to the rig and position them for fitment, spacing everything out underneath so everything fits neatly, before ultimately tacking everything into place and taking this thing off for finishing welds. So I just mounting up the legs, finished welding all of them, got everything in place, test fitted it again, made sure everything lined up. I am now just in the final stages of having to clean up everything and prep for paint, or in this case bed liner, but for the most part all of this is done, so you can watch that. I didn't actually record any of the cleaning up process. I kind of just got to work and kind of forgot to record. I got past the painting because I wanted to get these things dried up and ready to be handled. These things are bed lined. All you have to do is really just scuff them up. Bed liner will adhere to the sliders or whatever material you put it on. So just scuff up the material and it's usually ready to go. It's really durable for the most part, and you can repair it without having to pay an expensive company for a service. You use them as steps, you get them scratched up. They're field serviceable, so you don't actually have to take them off. All right, so I got the passenger side slider welded on. I am trying to hurry up and get to the other side quickly so I can actually finish this by the end of the day. It's already pretty late, so I'm just gonna try and speed this up. I'll show you everything in the morning. However, for the most part, all of this is built in, tacked on. It's not gonna move, but here we go. I'm gonna move everything to the other side and get to welding. Took a bit, and it's later at the night, but this entire thing is mounted. It's not supporting on its own. And this thing is solid as hell. It's on the frame. It's done. Cleanup is just what I have to do, and painting up the bottoms. So, catch you in the morning. It's the morning after. The welds are done, completely done all the way around. Because I couldn't reach into some locations, I decided to cut down the squares that were the feet into a pentagonal shape so that at least I'll have more contact room to actually weld. I honestly don't believe these things are gonna go anywhere. The welds are meaty, they're thick. They're not the prettiest, but they'll work. So this is it for the most part. The sliders are done. Just gotta touch them up, paint them, and after that, they're done. I don't have to touch them again. And I mean, I specifically just have to paint the feet. That's it. Thanks for watching, and please hit that subscribe button if you want to follow for more projects. But until then, stay safe.